What's up, wrestling card collectors? And, well, got all kinds of wrestling memorabilia collectors because we are changing some shit up today. We're doing some different stuff, aren't we, Paul?
Yeah, 3 count.
3 count. Welcome to the very
Welcome.
first edition of 3 count, which is basically our monthly recap, just rebranded with the new names like that. We're going to try to incorporate more things besides wrestling cards, which is still our main point is wrestling cards. But, you know, there's so much going on with the hobby and so many card collectors collect so many other different things. We thought it would be a good idea to kind of include some really cool memorabilia, you know, little notes going on in the hobby kind of thing, as far as collectibles as a whole, not just trading cards, but trading cards obviously is still and always will be our main focus. That's what we're all about. But we got some interesting stuff to kick off this time. Well, we're going to kick it off pretty much the way we normally do with new releases and things and whatnot, but we'll have a segment of our show now where we talk about some really cool and interesting things. So why don't you take us off there, Paul?
All right, sir. So, so this was the month of August. What we had new this month is Panini Selected. It hit at the beginning of last month. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. Indie set out of Maryland called 2023 Maryland. There were some updates to the Australian set. Leaf put out the Pop Metal Century, but the one I want to sort of get the conversation started on this week is one that just came out yesterday, in fact, which was the long-awaited Skybox AEW Upper Deck Metal, to which I'm going to now refer to it as the long set. And the reason why I call it the long set is because it took so bloody long to get here. And there's a boatload of printing errors of cards that have the word long in front of the performers' names. And they somehow got through QC and they ended up in packs. And I'm longing for the days when manufacturers get it right. So, you know, when I talk about the long set, I'm talking about AEW Metal. It's mind-boggling to me that we waited this long and then they put out product that were chock full of errors. And not only was it the word long printed in a few cards, in fact, one guy actually, one of the actual performers tweeted out, "Who the hell is this guy?" Because it had his name. I think it was Mark Sterling or something.
Yeah.
But then I've also seen a Hook card that was definitely not Hook. Now look, Tony, mistakes happen, you know, like Panini's known for their centering issues, but by and large, I've got several thousand Panini cards now, and there's no spelling errors. There's no words that on the cards that shouldn't be there. And yet here we are waiting this long. They had all this time to put this product together, and this is what we get. Now, some people say, oh, it's cool. It's something to talk about. It's nostalgic. No, it's wrong. And I'm surprised that they released this product or quality control somehow let this get out. You know,
better be careful.
Again, I'm not, you know, we get in trouble for ripping on these guys, you know, like,
yeah, you better be careful. You're going to be known as a Panini lover.
Because, you know, people might get upset with us, but it's like, come on, you know, like, am I right here or am I being?
Be careful there, Paul. Be careful. You might get labeled as a Panini lover and an anti-AEW guy like that. Yeah, so be careful how you choose your words. You know how people like to react to this kind of stuff. But
I'm a customer. I'm a customer of both. I can speak about both, can I not? And I just and I'm going to buy the sets, and I'm going to buy probably some of these error cards. But tell me, am I wrong to be?
Well, one, you have no choice. You have no choice to buy, but to buy these error cards. If you're going to make up a set, you have to have them.
Right.
But it's a bit embarrassing, to be honest with you. Again, like you said, to wait this long. I know that, you know, last minute things. There was a couple of guys that are on the original checklist and aren't in the set. They're replaced by somebody else.
Yeah.
I know Chuckster's working on a complete master list of all the errors and omissions and things like that. So
go figure, that's not on the spreadsheet they provide.
No, it's not. And it's, you know, it's still on any other websites and checklist sites as, you know, what was issued, you know, as the original checklist like that.
According ours at the moment, like we have
according ours, correct.
You know, we don't update our list until someone like Chuck goes out and says, well, wait a minute, these cards weren't made, or these cards are all wrong. So this is what they actually.
Well,
it feels like I'm in India, Tony. Like this is an Indian set, you know, where all of a sudden, you know, you got the wrong.
He had a little bit of an
card, you got a spelling mistake.
He had a little bit of an idea of some errors, and I messaged him. I go, dude, you need to start doing some homework because we got a lot of errors with AEW. He goes, what do you mean? And I sent him a list of things that I was seeing on posts. And he goes, oh my God. He's like, you know what? I just noticed that too. And so I said, we got to keep a record of this stuff. There's a lot of information needs to be added in the information section now to for the checklist to let collectors know, you know, what's correct and what's incorrect. But
and this is just a day, right? So what are we going to find out after we get through the weekend and all the breaks happen and everyone says, you know, like, how bad is it? But, you know, the long business of having the word long, I don't even know what that word represents in printing or something, but somehow the text word long got put onto a bunch of cards.
And I have no idea of it. To me, this is quickly becoming the equivalent of a major manufacturer Monty gum set.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of what it's turning out to be.
Without slicing old Muhammad Ali. you know?
Yeah, exactly.
And let me just say
It's
this, Tony, about the
embarrassing.
let me say this about the set, whilst we're on this one still. Chuck and I were talking about last night. We've determined that the acquisition of this set, the base set, is not going to be like Spectrum or
No.
Immaculate or Impeccable. You're going to be able to get sets of these.
Yep.
Then from there, the metal cards are obviously going to be more, and the set has an adjunct of 50 cards like the Revolution did in Panini. They might be a little more, but I think they're going to be readily available. And Chuck and I were talking last night, and we said, you know what, we're not going to blow our load, because nowadays you don't know what you're dealing with until you get the word on what the allocations are like and how these things are breaking. But on Spectrum, if you didn't buy a master set fast, that was it. They were done. No one ever put them together again.
Mhm.
And that's not going to be the case here. So if you're a set collector, but obviously the stuff is the PMGs, that's what people are going to be chasing. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Did you actually see that picture kicking around of the gold MJF PMG?
Yeah, and the guy just picked. He posted a picture this morning too. So he
Wasn't
showed a
sure what it
front
was.
and showed a front and back.
Yeah, that kind of
So
sucks when the sort of preeminent card in a site or in a set, sorry, is pulled on day one. You know what I mean? Like
yep,
that would be the card, that would be the grail out of that set, I suspect.
yep.
And it happened too with those kabooms. I remember Ty printed had them all shown
Yeah, but the kabooms aren't rare.
as we found out, and
Yeah,
that was the point of that of that the tweet to let us all know, they're out there and they're readily available. But that's just maybe just fortuitous that the guy pulled the gold MJF, but that's like pulling the Black Rock. It's
yeah.
like it found on day one. It's like, oh shit.
Well, I mean, if that's what your goal is to go out and find that one card for whatever purpose it may be, because you're an MJF collector, or you're also looking for an investment piece and trying to flip it. I mean, yeah, I guess it's a bummer, but for the most part, it shouldn't deter you from buying the product if you
No,
enjoy the
no,
product as
not
a
if
whole.
no, not if you're a PC of someone else or you're a set
Sure.
guy like Chuck and I, or if you're a lot of people are going to go for these PNGs, and there's a lot of neat inserts. It's a big set, and
Yeah.
we're going to dabble in it. But I must say I am disappointed that it comes right out the gate this late with errors. Like when you have this
Yeah.
much
I mean, the
time,
errors is
obviously.
just it's an added bonus for me of my displeasure for the set anyways, only because I'm not a fan. I've never been a fan of the PMGs. I don't get the allure of them. This is not a knock on the fact that because it's AEW. I don't care what promotion it's for. It's like that. I've never been a fan of that particular line. I know it's been a staple for many, many years.
Hmm.
I don't care what others say, like, well, it's been a staple for this many. I don't care. I'm allowed to have my opinion on it, and I
Well,
think it's actually an ugly product. Myself, I think it's a really bad Photoshop type of card.
I tend to
Uh,
agree.
it looks like um, uh, early days of me doing Photoshop and trying to crop an image out of a
Right,
background, and
right.
it looks really bad. Just to me, it's not my cup of tea. I also don't like kabooms. I think they're ugly. I think the
Yeah.
kabooms are ugly as well. But I mean,
Yeah,
to each their
I
own.
tend to agree with you. I don't hate them. I don't have disdain for PNGs. And if someone offered me the Hogan that we all chase after, I'd take it. But I agree. It's not that exciting a card, to be honest with you. It
No,
just
it's
doesn't
not.
look good. Like I hate to keep throwing out white sparkle prism, but there are ways to make a card really nice.
Yeah,
And some of these things. Look, we understand in the world of graphic design, it's hard to hit a home run with every single design you
sure
make.
it is.
But some of them that have been heralded, like even that classic design of Michael Jordan. I think that's a very average looking design of a card. That's
It
the
is.
sort of iconic, you know.
It's
And
a
of
very
course, we talk about our All Stars, which is sort of the
it's
iconic
yeah.
set in our hobby, and very poorly designed, if you ask me. But I guess that's what makes it what it is.
It's very kindergarten style to me.
Yeah,
I'm not a big fan of it. But that's just me. And again, the base set looks nice to me. What I don't like about the base set is photo selections on some of these. They've
right.
taken some really bad of all the photos that they're allowed to use. They chose some not so appealing looking images. I don't know. I hate the fact that I don't want to be bashing completely on this Upper Deck products like that, because I like Upper Deck. I like some of the things they've done in the past. It's just that I agree with you. It's if all this time, all these delays, things to correct, things to update, things to make right, and this is what we get.
Yeah,
It feels to me like we had all this time, yet it feels and looks rushed.
yeah. For something that's been sitting for a year or whatever it's been.
Yeah.
Like
So
when I first saw the first mistake, I'm like, oh, that's too bad. But when I saw the second one, it's like this is inexcusable. Now the floodgates are open. We're going to be
yep.
seeing a shit ton of this stuff now. And sure enough, and I've seen, like I say, I saw one that said Hook and it wasn't Hook, and there's going to be more of that, I presume. And, these are metal cards that are, inherently supposed to have some value to us. So,
Yep.
too bad on that. But again, it's still going to be a fun set for people that want AEW, that like the brand, that like the PMGs, that like the metal.
Yep.
So yeah, so we've only had that for a day,
It's
but
it's not modern Monty Gum brought to you by Upper Deck.
yeah. Well, we've only had those for a day, but what we've had kicking around now for 3-4 weeks is the selects. And a lot of us sort of crown the select release from Panini as the release of last year, of all the Panini stuff that came
Yep.
out. I'm not going to go so far to say that select is the set of this year thus far. I'll tell you where I'm at. I've got the first 2 tiers of base, the ringside and the concourse, or sorry, the premier and the concourse, a good portion of the ringsides, and I haven't even bothered with the mezzanines, and I'm not going to do it if it's the same thing like Immaculate, where I got to do it one at a time. I've got to find guys that have big chunks of mezzanine for me to be interested.
Mhm.
The design itself is very similar to last year. So
It
I
is.
guess, is that a legit criticism? Like last year, we liked the look of it, we liked the seating of it, we liked who was in it. Whereas it's very much the same, so you can't really knock it. But that's my knock, is that it's very much the same. And I found that with the Prism set, with the Revolution set, and this set is like, there wasn't a lot of thought that went into making it sort of unique versus last year.
Well, what separates this one, I think, is because is the photo selection of people. Some of the stuff they did with
Right.
some of their photo selections were really damn cool, I thought.
Those Rio ones, some of the, some of the landscape ones,
Sure.
that were variants, by the way. They're not even part of the major set.
Yeah.
So some of those were cool. I think there was a what's that Bray character? Hardy, Uncle Howdy.
Yeah.
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 A card of him. And
Yep.
by the way, rest in peace to Bray Wyatt. What a week. We'll,
Yeah.
we really talk about wrestlers that passed, but we're a few days after the loss of Terry Funk and Bray Wyatt. So let's hope that this week is a better week than last. But anyways, yeah, the Uncle Howdy was in that set. I tried to buy some of those variants, and they went. So there's going to be a market for those. There's a lot of guys that realize the value in some of those variants, because there's some of the nicest images. Even in the first Prism, my favorite card was that Shockmaster variant.
Oh
card.
yeah.
And I'm not a guy that normally chases down variants. Once I have the sets, that's it. Wait for the next one. But that Shockmaster one I liked a lot, so I sort of spent the 15 on a card and got that one. I think some of those landscape short print variants from the base set in the new select are going to be popular, but let's give it a few more weeks, and I'll report back to you next month on select, and how that's sort of feeling to me. But again, no errors, on time. Panini's still doing what they need to do to keep the marketplace happy. That's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
So that's it. Leaf Pop Metal Century. We talk about the roles of stickers of Hogan autographs and Flair autographs that must be sitting in the Leaf warehouses that they like to stick on everything. But the news on Leaf, I guess, is that Brian Gray left after.
Yep.
And I guess that was him in that booth with the brown hair. You were saying
It sure was.
God, that's not him. He's guy's older than me. But wonderful what a hairstylist will do, huh?
Yeah. And so the speculation is on what he's going to end up doing next.
Where's he going?
There's rumors. So
where's he going? Fanatics, Panini, Upper Deck.
I can't imagine you're going to jump on the Panini ship. That's a sinking ship.
Well, and that's something else that we're not going to get into, is the legal battles.
Yeah. I mean, that's something.
I suspect Adam and Ryan are probably going to do something on that down the way when more of it shakes out and we get a better sense as to what's happening and what the legalities are or what.
But rumor, possibly Fanatics, AKA Tops, possibly, who knows?
Everyone's going to be working for Fanatics eventually.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean,
brought to you 3 count brought to you by Fanatics. Not yet, but it's coming.
It's coming.
It's only a matter of time. Go away. I'm busy.
Let's not do that. So yeah, that's pretty much what we got for the new releases that's coming out. It's like that. I want to jump
that's this month. The other thing is that Elite was announced, right? As soon as Select hit, they announced Elite. I don't know that much about the product, but it seems to be one of these impeccable / immaculate kind of things. Not going to be easy to put together. Another premium product, instead of impeccable, probably, but let's see.
I don't think it is. I think it's a lower end product.
Is it?
I think it's a lower end product that's replacing NXT.
Oh, really? So it's just a bang out product like NXT called Elite.
I'm assuming,
from the look of the cards, it seemed to me that they were a little higher end, but maybe I was just seeing the higher end of that set. But possibly. They need that stuff, by the way. It's a good point that you make. Like, they need to throw a regular old fashioned $30 base set like they did with the NXT and like they did with the European set, right? It can't all be this high end, buy them one at a time card base set kind of things, because we're gonna end up with bullets in our heads otherwise.
Yeah.
It's nice to have some of these attainable sets, that you can just call a breaker who's broken 2 boxes, has put a set together, and is happy to sell it to you for $40.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So let's see on that. So I'm sure we'll get more
Yeah.
information on that. But yeah, my impression was that it looked like a high end set, but let's see. You could
I could
absolutely.
be wrong. I mean, that's the person to talk to about that's going to be obviously Ryan and Adam are going to know more about that.
Yeah, and I forgot to mention on the Select, obviously, they did a video once the product came out and they dissected it pretty good. My interpretation obviously is as a guy that builds sets, and I give you my impression of it, but they actually give you the straight goods because they dissect it every which way, look at the parallels, look at the inserts, and so if you missed that, go back and check that out. And they're going to do that. I think Ryan mentioned he's going to do that with the AEW product as well. So
Mhm.
if you want sort of just in time information on this new stuff, if you're a modern collector, and you want to find out what's new and what's good and what's bad with all these new releases, on this channel is Adam and Ryan, and they come around every 2-3 weeks with something, or as the releases warrant,
Yep.
and it's as good as it gets insofar as analysis on that stuff.
Yep. All
So
right.
yeah, so
Let's.
that's Elite next month. So top sales of the month index. You always like to choose which one goes first.
I'm going to go segue. Let's go right into the index right now.
Go to the index before top
Yeah,
sales.
I like saying saving top sales afterwards.
And it was another interesting Ric Flair kind of month, wasn't it?
Well, but we're gonna go.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I got the
absolutely.
index. I got the index.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Well,
2021.
it's a toss up between both Rick and The Rock. Both did really well this month.
But
But
Rick,
let's get
we'll get there.
in our
Yeah,
index.
yeah. Let's bang out the index. So 2021 AEW Hobby Box, which is the first thing we look at. And for people that are joining us for the first time or that don't watch us regularly and you're wondering what are these numbers? Basically, Tony, what we do is we go and we take 9 sales of something and we
Try
average.
to.
We try to, if there are 9 sales of something, of one of our indexes. And we take an average and we say, okay, this is what the thing is worth. And it works because if you look at a Tops 85 Hogan, it's been consistent in its price since day one, up and down averages, we know what it's worth.
And how long
But
we've been doing this sheet now? About almost 2 years.
yeah, since the beginning of January 2022. So,
Okay.
we've got some historical data here. But the interesting thing is with the boxes, particularly with the Panini boxes and seeing how up and down they go. And we also do AEW as well. So we did the first 2021 AEW release. This is the inaugural release. So we thought, okay, because we've done Prism, let's do AEW. And we've been following that. And it's sort of tapered off to around $56 last month, but it went back up to $70.50 for this month on average. But there was
But only half the sales.
yeah, only 4 sales. So that's a question to you because I saw a lot of that product at the National. Why has so few of it sold this month on eBay?
Good question. I don't know. Maybe people are kind of investing and waiting because of metal. Maybe
Maybe.
maybe buying into that.
Same thing happens with Immaculate. When we get down the list, you'll see very few, and we know that stuff is kicking around still. It's not all open, right? Yeah, so that went up a little bit. And then the 2022 AEW Hobby Box went down a little bit from last month. It averages out at $47.92. And you were saying last month it's around a $50 box. So
Yep.
expect that to be the case. I mean, they're going to drop down to a value, and then that's where they stay.
I mean, Jesus, you found some boxes in the $20 price point range, for Christ's sake, $22. I mean, that's going to hurt your averages no matter what.
Correct. And really, we should always throw out the top and the bottom, but I don't often do that. But if you take out that 22 and you make that a 62 like one of the others, then that puts us probably right back up to the same average. Again, this isn't the most in-depth statistical analysis, but it's just a starting point so that we can talk intelligently to each other and to you guys about where we think prices are and where they're going.
That's why you are the price guide.
Right. Yeah. A guide to an AEW Hobby Box from last year, it's $50,
Yep.
in or around. Then we go to what we call the box because it was one that started off with a bang, went up to 1800, went all the way back down, and that's the one and only 2022 Panini.
Now I'm actually shocked by this, to be honest with you, because the previous month you only had a record of 2 sales.
Only
This
2.
month, this past month, we had 9. Plus 9 plus.
There might have been more because once I get my 9, I stopped. There might be more on the month. It's entirely possible. And once you have more sales, what happens? Price goes down.
Price
Right.
goes down.
Yeah, when there's not a lot of sales on eBay, they tend to go for a little higher, like $40 more. Now, $40 isn't a ton on 270, but it's percentage wise, 15-20% is enough.
Yep.
But yeah, so $230. And like I say, that's the box that we'll be watching till the end of time, just to see if it kind of dipped at one point below two. And we thought, well, it's going to settle around 250, and it's sort of creeping back up to that, but that's where it seems to go. But look what happens to the 1985 Topps Hulk Hogan. Few people got deals this month because it averaged out about $10 less than normal at 26 bucks. And you can see that in a sale for $17.35, one that went for $20, one that went for 21. Now,
Mm-hmm.
of course, condition could be a factor in some of these, you know,
Yeah.
and we're taking the raw version because you can't compare stuff that's graded.
Yeah.
But you know, last month it was $33. It was around 35 the month before. I fully expect it to go back up to the $30 to $35 range next month. And again, one or two sales can affect the average, but that's what's
Yep.
going on there.
Yep.
No change in the Impel. There was only one sale last month. We got 5 sales this month. It was 20 bucks last month, $18.50 this month. So basically around $20
Yeah.
for the Impel set. And then this one, Immaculate, I'm still banging away on the base set, believe it or not. I got 7 to go, almost there. But so I'm watching this one because this was a fairly expensive box. Like they were up around $500-600. Now they're under the $500 range with 2 sales, one at 408, one at 560. So look at the difference in that, right?
Mm-hmm.
$160 almost. So, you know, someone didn't know what they were doing when they dumped off this box. The average came out to 484, which is low, to be honest. I think that that's going to be one that's going to sort of creep back up to over 5, but it's right in line, I guess, with where it was last month.
Yeah, it just doesn't seem to be much in change. That it's a higher end products like that.
Yeah.
I mean it's so weird when we start doing these where we have like a lot of consistent sales one month and then nothing the next month kind of thing. It's almost, I wonder if we have to start thinking about like, okay, what else came out that month that stopped people from selling this and started buying other
The
stuff.
sales, correct.
Yeah.
I gotcha.
So
Yeah.
I think metal, with the announcement that the checklist came out, people are like, great, a checklist is out. Now I got to put some money aside to buy that. I'm not buying any of the other stuff right now. I'm going to save my money for metal. So I'm wondering if metal release having to do with it. So next
It's
month will be
possible
interesting.
because people don't have unlimited funds. They can't afford to buy everything that comes out. And when you have a month where you have a couple of major releases and all the indie stuff and whatever else you're into, you know, you have to pick and choose, right?
Yep. So
And the last one is the 2023 Panini Prism that we compared to the 2022. It's always been worth a little bit less, but look what happens this month. The 2022 is actually came in at 230, but the 2023 came in at 240, exactly where it was last month, by the way.
yeah.
So there was no movement at all on the box month to month. And, you know, we're talking about 9 sales last month, 7 sales, so 16 sales, and the price across the board has been $240 for a box. And that's good for us when we can say, okay, you know, there's market established on some of this stuff. If you have your supply and demand curve, you know, there's some things we can plot on and say, this is always going to fall in around here unless something majorly changes in the hobby.
Yep.
But that's it, dude. That's the index. You know, we don't tally them up and try and say this was a better month or worse month. You know, like some of the sites like Card Ladder and those ones, they come out with what's going on, and people use those to talk about major trends. Based on what I saw at the National back in July, based on these numbers, I don't think wrestling cards is suffering. We're in the dead of summer. We just went through August, and people are buying. And when you look at some of the numbers that happened on the top sales of the month to suggest that wrestling cards are down, I just don't buy it. Sorry.
I know I haven't bought it at all. I mean, so many of these people that other people call influencers, you know, talking about the hobby and what a down market is right now. And I'm sure that probably is the case for other genres, sports, but wrestling has always been different. Always. It's a whole different beast. You know, we don't rely on stats. We don't rely on seasons. We don't rely on even with injuries to some extent. We don't care about that kind of stuff because we collect based on characters and stories and historical significance to that what they've done for the industry as a whole. It's different. It's a different beast, and I don't think wrestling is getting hit by this downturn in the hobby at all. I actually think it's as strong as it's ever been.
I agree.
I maybe not as strong as during pandemic times. I was everything.
No, nothing.
I could sell during the pandemic. I could sell like different sizes of lint from my pocket, to anybody for a premium price.
You bought an Andre the Giant jockstrap during that time. I remember.
I did, yes. But it's just it's different. I mean, wrestling has seemed like it's taken some hits, but you know what? Wrestling is used to taking bumps.
Yeah.
Okay. And so, and it still thrives and survives. And I think we took our bumps coming out of the pandemic and we said, you know what? It's still wrestling, dude. It's still
Yep.
fun. It's still profitable. It's a lower price point to buy into, and it's a lower price point to invest in. So it's just it makes sense that wrestling continues to keep thriving in it. And our numbers that we keep showing every month from our top 10 prove this, that wrestling doesn't get hit very hard like everything else does.
No, and because we're sort of outside, but you and I sort of have these numbers and we can share these numbers and they support what we say, you know?
Yes, and I think it's beyond just wrestling fans. I mean, like everything else, we have people who come in strictly to make money. They don't give a rat's ass about Ric Flair. They don't give a rat's ass about
Yes.
Hulk Hogan or The
It's the
Rock.
investment potential.
They're coming here to invest. But you know what? In the end, I think it just helps everybody's collections. It helps everybody's values. Are some of these grossly overpriced, inflated pricing? Probably yes. I think in some cases, yes. But when you start seeing, like, we're going to go over this top 10, when you
Yeah.
start seeing that we have collectors who are selling their wrestling cards are being bought up by other wrestling card collectors
At the highest tier of the hobby.
at the highest tier possible, that speaks some volume about our
Yeah.
hobby.
Well, let's get into it because it's
Yeah.
quite a beefy top 10. The biggest sale of the
You
month.
know, I want to do something different. I think going forward, I want to go from the bottom up.
Yeah.
I want to go from the bottom up and what it took just to crack our top 10.
Okay.
And sometimes, usually it's about a $2,000 price point. Again, we talked about this before, 5 years ago, 7 years
All
ago,
right.
8,
So
10 years. We talk about, like, you know, God, these numbers, if we
okay.
had
So
these numbers 10 years ago,
we'll do
Jesus,
it. We'll do it Casey Kasem style. We'll count down.
we're
So
going down to our top 10. Coming at number
yeah,
10.
number 10. Oh, you young hipsters. Well, I'm going to do 10 and 9, which are both Rhea Ripley. Number 10 was a 2023 Select Premier Black. Now, because Select have come out, you know, some of the blacks are going to hit, and they're not surprisingly going to get into our top 10. So the Rhea Ripley 1 of 1 black from Select went for 2075, and then her 2021 Chrome Superfractor 1 of 1 went for 2250. And again, we've spoken about her before, and I've said that, you know, that's the future women wise, you know, so it doesn't surprise me that she's got the number 10 and the number 9s. At number 8, we have the 1991 Steve Austin Chromie. That's the Argentina one, the Stunning Steve. That went for $2,700, and that was raw, you know, for that card for $2,700. So
I
that's
had
a big number.
I had 3 sets of those, and I sold one during the pandemic time. I sold a set for I want to say somewhere in that $1,800 range for the whole set.
Right.
You know, Ross, like that. I was pretty pleased with that.
Right. Well,
For that
now the
time
Stone
frame,
Cold
but
is the Stunning is just worth 27 by itself.
Jesus, that's crazy.
You know, and again, just like Rhea, there's another Steve Austin at number 7. So we had 2 Rheas and now two Steve Austins, and this is the 2023 Ringside Black Select. So again, you know, the Select 1 of 1 turns up, and it's worth $27.50, $50 more than the Chromie.
Yep.
You know, so not surprising to see those black 1 of 1s hit number. The number 6 is the 2023 Select Concourse Black. Now, I should mention that in the Select series, there's going to be 4 different tiers: your Premier, your Concourse, your Ringside, and your Mezzanines. And there might be repeats, so you might have more than one Rock Black. In this case, there was a Rock Select Concourse Ringside Black, and the Ringside is the 3rd tier, and that went raw for, or sorry, the Concourse. The Concourse one went for $37.50. And I just forgot to mention the Steve Austin one from before was a Ringside, whereas this is an actual Concourse Black on the Rock, and it went raw for $37.50. So that gives you an idea that, you know, what a raw card of the Rock is worth that isn't coming out of the first year prison box. Still quite a few bucks.
Yep.
Number 5 is 1982 Hulk Hogan PSA All-Stars, a PSA 7. Now there's going to be a Hogan every month on our list. There's probably going to be more than one, but once we go from the top down, once I have one Hogan, I don't repeat the cheaper ones on the month. I just report the highest Hogan sale, as we're going to report the highest Ric Flair sale coming up when there was fully like 5 of them this month. But the Hogan PSA 7 went for $4,000, $3,999, and that's pretty good for a 7, if you ask me. You know,
that's pretty damn good for a 7.
That's the card that ended up on Zan's Iconic 25 as the number 1 card of all time. The hobby clearly agrees that it's the card. I don't think there's ever going to be a card that's going to replace it. You know, for the word
No,
iconic.
we've said for a long time. It's our 52 mantle. It's our 86 Fleer,
It,
Jordan.
it's the card. All due respect to the most expensive card of all time, which is a Black Prism, but the most iconic card will, you know, maybe one day it might get passed by Flair or Andre from that same set, but I don't think so. I think that Hogan, particularly everything about it, just the image of Hogan, what it is, who he was, when it was, that's always going to be a big one for
Yep,
us.
100%.
Number 4 is the 2023 Rock Prism Kaboom PSA 10. So a big grade on a Kaboom. And by the way, this came out July 31st. So it technically was July, but it missed our countdown last month. So we didn't include it. So I'm including it as August technically, because it has to be mentioned, $5,300. And that's a lot because, as you said at the outset, the Kabooms didn't end up being anything. A raw Kaboom is not worth a lot of money.
Yeah, I know, but some people might look at this and go, "Oh, that person's going to take a bath. They spent too much on it." It's like
Possibly.
that. Possibly, and I say what I always say. First off, don't tell me how to spend my money. First off, ever.
Correct.
Secondly,
It just takes two people that want it, man.
yeah, we don't have no idea what this person's interested in it. Is this person buying this because he thinks it's going to be a future investment for him to sell then buy a house on the road? I don't know. Maybe he's a big rock fan and likes to have it in his collection. Who knows? But
yeah,
it's an
Rock
impressive
Black
number.
Prism, if it comes up for sale today, might get 125 grand again, might get more, might get less. Who knows?
Might
Like
get less. Who
this
knows?
crystal ball shit that none of us have.
That's
We
right.
just don't know. So number 3 was
Now we get into our top 3, folks.
yeah,
We're in the top
now
three.
we get into our friends. Our dear friend Jamie Wallace sold his 2023 Randy Savage Black Prism. It was a card that sat right in front of me at the main event.
Yep.
We were sitting together, me, Jamie, and his dad, and there was that rock Black Prism, and I had no idea. He wasn't letting on at that point that it was something that he was looking to move. But Jamie's a smart guy. He never sells something unless he's got something else on his radar that he's chasing down, and he keeps himself moving. Whether he makes or loses along the way, it's none of our business. He does things the way he wants to. And look, I tip my hat to him. A lot of guys would buy this card and you'd never see it again. Jamie bought this card and a few months later he was turning it around and he sold it for $8,500, and we're not here to talk about, was that the right price? Was that too much, too little? Because like you say, on the Rock Kaboom, we don't want to tell someone how to spend their money and we can't,
Nope.
But congratulations to Jamie on that. And by the way, we have these guys' permission to mention that they were the sellers on this.
Yes.
Private.
Yeah, we're not name dropping the name drop.
No,
knowing about
there was another private sale on the list that Adam sent me, but there was no verification of it, so I'm not mentioning it. I'm not going to say what it was for.
Yeah.
In this case, because Jamie's a respected member of the community and I'm friendly with him, and I asked him, I said specifically, can I mention it on a monthly? And he says, yeah, by all means. So congratulations to Jamie on that. $8,500 for the 2023 Black Savage Prism.
Yep.
Big one.
Beautiful card.
Beautiful card. And I saw it in the flesh. Drake Magruder held the card, held up the 1-on-1.
Oh yeah, God, that was great.
Yeah, and then minutes later, Wallace throws down the Savage, and I'm like, where am I?
It's like holding bricks of gold.
Yeah. There's no museum in the world that I could go to that's going to give me this thrill.
No.
So thanks to you guys both on that, for bringing them along so we could see them, because we're never seeing that Black Prism again, I don't think.
No.
Number 2 was one that just ended up on Golden a couple of days ago. This was the Rock Select Ringside, as opposed to the Concourse, and it ended up at 85.20. Now I think that when you go on Golden with a card like this, you tend to do a little better than on eBay. I think Golden now has the pedigree, and
these guys, Golden, Heritage, these guys, they have a client list of big spenders. Yeah. So you're automatically going to be only appealing to the heavy hitters of collecting out there, I think.
Correct.
So it's unlike going on eBay where I can have, well, granted, when you start getting these price points, bidders have to be vetted first, so before they actually can place a bid in most cases. But still, there's always ways to get around it, and I'm sure there's ways around it on those too. But they have a client list of people that are just heavy hitters as it is. That's why I went with Heritage when I sold my Hogan card.
Yeah,
and
Heritage, Golden.
It was just I feel a little better. I feel a little upper class when I'm using one of these services.
Yeah, and again, they work them hard, and that's a big number, including the buyer premium 85.20, and again, a brand new card out of a pack, not graded, and it just gives you an idea of where the Rock's at.
Yep.
Because this isn't his first year Black Prism. This is his second year one of a few black selects, and it's almost
Yep.
kissing 10 grand raw, so
Yep.
that's a big number, guys, for a wrestling card, if you ask me.
Yep. All these are, I mean, we do this monthly, okay, and we're seeing these numbers consistently for the last 2 years, I guess now,
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
But it's still, you would think we become numb to it, but it's still, to me, I see these
No, it's
numbers and
still,
I'm going like, holy crap! Like wrestling is
yeah.
really come a long way.
Yeah, and
It really has.
there's a magic number of 15,000 that for whatever reason a lot of people in our hobby like to sort of say we hit a benchmark when we hit 15 grand. And that numbers happen with Drake and his Roman Superfractor. We saw it with the Andre Prism, and we see another card this month. And congratulations to our dear friend Uncle Danny Andrews, who's just been fucking killing it over this past year with his acquisition of
100%.
All-Star stuff. He was the lucky winner of the Ric Flair All-Stars PSA 9 autographed, and he paid $14,500. And I should mention that this was one of five, Tony, five Ric Flair All-Stars that all would have made our list. Like I say earlier, we
Yep.
just take the top one. If I was to take those five, all of them would have displaced these lower numbers, and we would have had a month where it was all Flair.
It'd be all Flair and Rock.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But Danny's been, very, very open about his pursuit of the All-Star stuff.
Yep.
He's a guy that follows the registry, and we know about his run-ins with Rob, and he puts his money where his mouth is, and he ponies up big time,
Absolutely.
and he did it
Absolutely.
yet again on this. And I wasn't even aware when I posted the sale of the 14.5 that it was Danny. I should have said, hey, was this you first? But it
And
didn't
he's
occur.
just genuinely a nice guy too, which is
Yeah,
great. So I mean, he knows the sport, is a fan of it. So it's nice to see, a collector that's really investing, like you said, putting his money where his mouth is, and really becoming the benchmark, the market of value on some of these
yeah,
things.
he's becoming a major player. There's no doubt about it.
I don't think he's becoming one. I think he
Yeah, he
is.
is one. He is. Well, when I say becoming, since he's come on the scene in these last couple of years, he's right in there, and he's
Yep.
very friendly with the governor, who we had the show with earlier this week.
Another
Um,
wonderful guy.
yeah, yeah. So once again, Danny, good on you, brother. Congratulations, and keep it up.
Yep.
Not just to keep the value of the wrestling cards up, but just for your own collection. I think that you're good on that number, man, and
Yep.
heck of a purchase. Like I
Yep.
wish I had the balls to spend 15 grand on a wrestling card. I've never done it. Don't know if I ever will. I've gone close to two, but 15's a lot of money. And
Well, let's it's a nice segue there so we're talking about the top sales like that and spending a lot of money on certain cards. Let's just move right into our next bullet point here, which is talking about this wonderful Kurt Angle ribbon
yeah,
card that just
yeah, that
sold.
was a big one for you because you're an Angle guy,
I'm an
and
Angle
you
guy, and
pointed out to me that
I
you
was looking
pointed
to
out
make a
that
play on that, but I was
yeah,
priced out quick.
yeah, you said, hey, look at this, and I'm like, oh, the Angle Rhythm, that's got to be worth about $500, and you're like, no, it's already at 7 and change. And it
Yep.
ended up going for 1,100, which is a lot for a Fleer relic. Outside of the Farouk knee brace and the Hurricane mask, there aren't a lot of Fleer relics that are going to go for that.
Which I couldn't even tell you what those values would go for. Does the Farouk name or the Hurricane name, no disrespect to those guys, of course, does that hurt the value of those cards
I don't think
regardless of
so.
its scarcity?
No, I don't think so.
Or
Because when Enos came out with his WCW cards, we didn't say, no, you're Mike Enos. We're not paying you this kind of money.
that's true.
We still gave him the grand because of the rarity. And I would pay more than that. I would pay more than double that for the Hurricane card now if I could get my hands on it. And I had the opportunity to buy it from Grimm at one point for 350. One
Yeah.
of my coulda, shoulda, just being around for a while.
Can't play that game. Yeah.
No, because I do that in real estate all the time, and it is what it is. But that's an
To
interesting one,
imagine what
and
my
I
card would be worth today.
I know you and Chuck and Jamie are going to talk more in the future on the channel about the Fleer era and these
Yep.
relics in particular. And a lot of times, people talk about, you got to have a multicolored swatch for it to be something. Or like in the impeccable swatches that we had out of Panini, those really gorgeous ones where they had images of Rhea's face from a t-shirt,
Sure.
like really, really hot looking relic cards. But I'll say, guys, there's gold in those Fleer relics.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't all have to be multi swatches. Some of these, like I've seen the Vince Raw as War, just the matte card go for $100, right? And it used to be a $2 card. 6 months
Oh
ago, it
yeah.
might have been that. You know what I mean? So I'm heavily invested in them because, like, I went and bought a lot of the stuff from Fear of
Mhm.
Bankruptcy sale, and I ended up with a shit ton of autos and relics, and that's all I bought. And I'm glad I did. And I mentioned to you, TriStar is going to be another group of sets that we're going to one day discover and say, hey, wait a minute, there's great stuff at TriStar,
There is.
especially like in some of those, the extreme autograph set. We don't talk about that much. The
Nope.
TriStar Extreme autograph set has names in there like New Jack and Danny Bonaducci, and the stuff in there that you would never imagine, like, and guys that have never signed before. But anyways, going back to Fleer, there was so much stuff, not just in the relics and not just in the autos, but even in the insert sets. I'm
Mhm.
very keen on those Fleer inserts because they're some of the nicest insert sets that you're ever going to find.
Oh, well, without getting too involved, because we have several episodes coming with
Yeah, I know
Jamie
you guys are going to
Stalker
do
and
a deep
Chuckster and
dive
stuff
on
like
all
that.
that stuff.
But getting into like one of my favorite ones from the Fleer era is going to be Famous Nicknames. I love
Yeah, I know
that
that
chase
one.
set. I
Yeah,
love that one.
yeah, yeah.
So if you guys don't know about that one, go check that one out. Look it up. Famous Nicknames is a great
There,
subset or
there's the
chase set.
pay-per-view posters, and there's a whole
Oh,
bunch
love
of
those
them,
too. Oh God, yeah.
Yeah.
And they did
And then
some
you
great
have like
stuff with
those
all the
ones that go to
divas.
those Matitude ones, which is
Yep.
still those Matitudes with the actual image imprinted on the mat
Yep.
for those. Yeah, there's some real nice stuff. There was, of course, that last set with the real rare stuff that you sold to Trisha
Hmm.
back in the day, the With Loves, so yeah. And another thing I should mention too is that Rich Veligan, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but he sent me a bunch of numbers to say there's been quite a bit of movement on the Japanese front, and a few that were like $500-600, and I wouldn't have known who these performers were, but just the fact that he felt compelled to let me know that there's quite a bit of movement on the uptick on Japanese product, which is interesting to hear. I guess before we get off pricing, so yeah, is there anything else you want to mention about the relics and the angle? Like $1,100.
No, I mean it's just it's surprising to see and surprising in a good way. I think that the Fleer era stuff, as much as I talk about it, some of my favorite era, is maybe starting to get some of it's the love that it deserves, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But
Those were nice
it's
sets, all of them, every, every
all of
every
them.
every single one of them, and of course the 2002 Royal Rumble base set had the four rookie autographs
And
coming
that's
from
to
AEW.
me that's minor in comparison to what these other stuff are. I mean, uh, matchmakers, event use stuff with the
Yes,
piece of the tables and piece of
yes,
trash cans and piece
no
of
cartons, and
folding chairs, and it's just amazing stuff.
yeah, yeah,
So it's happy to see that.
yeah. Oh, happy for me because I have them all. You know, thanks to Fleer going out of business, and thanks to a very timely phone call, and for once me not hesitating because I spent a lot that day, more than I would have to that point in wrestling cards. But now I look back and I see these numbers. I'm like, I got that ribbon, I got that Faruga, all
Yep.
this. You know. I guess before we bounce off of prices, we mentioned at the outset that we're going to talk about collectibles. I didn't make a note, but last month we talked about a pair of Hulk Hogan boots that sold for
Yep.
66 grand. There was a pair of Roddy Piper boots that sold for 56,000 this year. And I just posted 2 days ago a Macho Man headband, a gold
Yep.
silver-studded headband that sold for $7,000. And maybe I'll start making a separate list of some of the stuff. But anything going on in your store that of interest insofar as that
I
big
mean,
sales or
nothing.
surprising?
Nothing overly surprising. I mean, especially with the passing of Terry Funk and Bray Wyatt lately. Of course, that's all anybody seems to want right now.
Right,
And
right.
I'm not one of those guys. I didn't jack my prices up at all. If I
No,
was
no, no.
$20 on a Bray Wyatt figure, 2 months ago, I'm $20 today, kind of thing. But the phone calls come in. Any Terry Funk? Any Bray Wyatt? Yeah, I have this or I have that. Any Fiend Ultimate Editions? Any Funko Pops? And well, I have this and I have that. So I've been cleaned out. So I
Yeah,
got
nice.
cleaned out of those things.
For,
But
for the record, can I just make this statement? We don't particularly like it when a wrestler passes away, then all of a sudden their cards turn up and people are jacking up the values.
yeah,
Now, if you happen to have a Bray Wyatt card or a Terry Funk card for sale prior to the news, right, and you sold it for whatever you had it listed for, that's fine, absolutely
yep.
fine. It's the people that are taking advantage that, oh, I just heard that, oh, I've got one of those, let me go quick and let me put it up for double the money. That's what we frown upon,
It's even it's horrible, but it happens all the time. And
It
like
does,
with the Bray Wyatt stuff,
does.
these $50 to $70 autograph cards are now $300 $350
Yeah.
cards guys are asking for. It's just I know it's just there are all different ways to make money, and if that's what you're into it for making money, then that's on you, I guess. But
Right.
it's just not a way that I operate. So
Right. But I can't recall. It might have been Tom from Collectapalooza happened to have some of that stuff for sale
yep, yep,
earlier in the week. and all of a sudden he saw a spike in its value. Now that's fine because Tom, unfortunately, he got the benefit of it, but he didn't intend to go out and profit on this. It
Yep.
just sort of happened, and that's absolutely fine.
Yep.
No one knows what's gonna happen tomorrow. But
Yep.
if you have stuff and someone dies and you decide to put it on and try and beef up the value, don't do it. Wait a
Yeah.
few days at least, guys. Just the right
Yeah.
thing to do.
But back to the merchandise, memorabilia stuff. I think it would be a good idea, maybe doing a top 3 or something like that, or of like memorabilia or whatever you deem fitting for a
You
top
never
whatever.
know what people are gonna like. Like I saw a lot of ticket stubs. Like there was a WrestleMania ticket stub from the original '95 show that went for big money. Obviously, we don't do figures and we don't do belts. And after those are the three. I guess t-shirts would be four, but
Mhm.
it would probably be figures first, I guess, and then probably t-shirts second, then maybe belts and trading. I don't know.
Yeah.
What the values of the respective markets are, but you put all those together. A wrestling collectibles market bolstered by what's going on in trading cards. Our world and what's happened,
Mm.
particularly in the last 2 years, and you've got a very vibrant marketplace of stuff.
Mhm.
Like people buy wrestling related products, be it lunch boxes, trading cards, you name it, and you're selling a lot of it.
Yep.
So it just goes to show that wrestling itself is still very much mainstream. It very much has the critical mass that it needs to fuel a secondary collectibles market that's in the tens of millions, I'm sure.
Yep. Yep. I see that people coming in here. I'm starting to get a little bit more of an older crowd coming in here, probably like in their late 50s to late 60s time frame. Being in Arizona, I have a lot of retired people out here, so they're coming in like, oh, we just discovered you, and like, I'm into cars. Like yesterday, I had a couple come in here. They moved from California. They were said I looked you up on Google and came to check you out, and he ended up buying a couple of trading cards for me out of my display case because I finally got a new display case, and he came in and was talking some old school wrestling and watching a little bit of wrestling on the TV and here in the store. And he's just looking to get into cards. Like I don't really do figures. I've got some T-shirts. I've got a couple Funko Pops. I'm like thinking to myself, God, this guy's like in his late 60s and collects Funko Pops like that. And
If you're a
his wife's
collector,
like,
you're a
oh,
collector.
yeah. But now he's like, people are there's that crossover now. You get guys who are into action figures but not into cards, or cards but not in action figures. I'm starting to see a little bit of people getting into all kinds of stuff now. So,
We had last weekend the Comic-Con up here, right? The Geek Fest, they call it.
mhm.
And of course, it makes the news because, everyone's in cosplay and all that stuff. And they showed these grandmothers all dressed up. I don't even know what they were, My Little Pony or something like that. And I was thinking, good for them, that's how they enjoy themselves. And fandom is ageless. You can be a fan of something when you're 7, like I was for wrestling, or when you're 50, mid 50s, you know.
Yep.
Um, Soccer is that way. You go to a soccer game, you've got kids, you've got old people,
Mhm.
and that's what wrestling was. It used to be back in the day when I was a kid, more for old people. Then after Hulk Hogan came, it became more geared towards kids. But now you get everybody. And
Mhm.
there was a long time that WWE, that 25 to 40 demographic, which is hard for advertisers, they would go to
Mhm.
WWE a lot because that's what they were. They had that segment, so wrestling is alive and well. They did the show at Wembley this past week. They had the 88,000 or whatever they claim to have. So you got two major providers of product, and then you've got a lot of indie feds that are making cards, that are making products. So you know,
Yep.
all is well in the wrestling business, as far as I can tell.
Yep. I agree.
So a
100%.
couple of things, and then we'll bugger off for this month. Just an update on the collector's cards series 2. They're underway. We're halfway done. We have 25 cards built. We're waiting on more images and solicitations, et cetera, et cetera. But that's coming. We're excited about that. It's going to be a good one again.
Yep.
And
Some
we
and
also,
some surprise. I like to say as a teaser, there's some decent, some definite surprises in this
yeah,
one.
yeah, that we're not going to talk about until
Yep.
right towards the end.
Yep.
Um, and the other thing I made note of is the Collector Series podcast. We sat down with Alan Barkov, the governor. We had such a good time doing that first thing I did was I said, well, we need to talk to this guy. And I want to do something with these two guys. And I want to
Yep.
do a Canadian one with the Canadian guys up here. We want to do the Brotherhood one. And so that's going to become more of a regular thing that I'm going to sort of take the lead on because Tony's busy and he's doing his monthly show for us and he does his things. Um, but it's going to be me and Tony, and we're going to be talking to different people in the hobby. Now, some of these people you've seen before, some like the governor you haven't, but there's going to be sort of an issue or a topic that we're going to talk to these guys about. And we're going to try and do it fairly regularly. I'm hoping to get one at least once a month, but even if we can get a couple out a month, at least initially, just to get the ball rolling on them. So look to that. That's WTC Collector Series, and that's with Tony and I talking to some of the key people in the hobby.
There'll
And
always be, some sort of, it might not always be strictly about wrestling cards, but
no, not necessarily.
there'll definitely be a connection there, obviously, of card in some way, shape, or form. But some of these guys are characters and themselves, and have incredible stories to tell. And I just think it'd be important for them to share their stories with people, to maybe it's something to motivate someone in a direction of how they want to collect. Maybe it's to help them identify, like, what, I have that piece, I was wondering where it came from, kind of thing, or something like that. It's just I think it's going to be fun and something different to talk about with some of these collectors out there. Some really interesting people, and I can't wait to start doing these.
Yeah, so keep an eye out for that as well, and thanks for your support on that as well.
Yep.
That's all I got. Anything else, Tony?
No, that's pretty much it, man. I always enjoy doing these monthlies with you. 3 counts are going to become a fun little thing. During the summertime, it was harder for me to do these things. It's kind of why I want to, for the first time ever, publicly address the Worlds Collide thing. I know Zan did at one point in time, and he initially is the one that pulled the plug on that. It's like that, and rightfully so, I think, in a sense, because summertime was hard for me with we used to record those in batches.
Yeah, I
So we would
recall.
sit down in the morning and we'd knock out 2 to 4 episodes in one sitting. And then Zan would do his magic on that stuff. But then as the summertime came around, my son's home from school. I don't have that luxury of like getting up in the morning, dropping off at school, coming straight to the store
Well,
where all my
it's harder
recording
for
equipment.
us too, like
Yeah.
what we
So
do.
it was just it's just the morning times are when I can do it, because all the recording is here. I don't have it at home anymore. It's all been here at the store. So the only time I really have is like when I get to the store until I open. And during the summertime, he's not in school, so I don't have to get up and go to the store until it's close to opening time. So there's no time to do anything,
And
now that he's back in
cool.
school, I have all this time in the morning. Now I'm here by 8:30 in the morning. I got 8:30 to 9:30, 10:30. I got time.
Yeah, to bang off some of this stuff.
So, but Worlds Collide was something that was really fun, and
It was
I
enjoyed by
honestly
everybody.
thought that. Well, and that's the flip side too, is that Zan came at me and said that, well, you know what, no one's messaged us like what's happened to Worlds Collide, so clearly they must not care about it.
Yeah,
And
I
I
don't know.
go,
If
well,
if we missed a month, do you think our inbox would fill up? I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
You know?
We might get a couple people asking us, hey, what happened? But
Yeah, Chuck. But outside of
yeah, that's true. But like it's a wrestling business in a sense.
Yeah,
Never say never.
yeah,
Maybe
exactly.
come back for like a one-off or something like that. But Zan and I we still talk, and so there's nothing that's personal between Zan and I also like that. It's
No,
just
no, of
that
course not. And
timing.
there's going to be, like Chuck just did an episode with Zan. I haven't been on Zan's show in a while, but I'm looking forward to catching up with him again soon. But yeah, we're all just sort of plodding away, doing our own thing. And like I say, between our monthlies, and now we're going to start doing these collector series. And you have something else up your sleeve, and you're doing a
Yep.
thing with Chuck and Jamie.
Yep.
Uh, I think I'm doing a show on another network with Jamie coming up. So we're all busy. We've all got things to do, but it's nice that now you've got some of that sort of weight off your shoulders that you can do it and not be worried. Oh, I've got you enjoy them more when you have the luxury of time to do them, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the only downside is that the editing process is still a pain in the ass.
Yeah. Well, I'm learning. I'm getting
Yeah.
better.
Yeah.
I edited the governor one, right?
Yeah. You sure did. Yeah. It
Yeah,
came out
and
great. Came out
I got
great.
a slap on the wrist for using the black rose, but they let it go.
Yeah. You sure
Yeah,
did.
so there we
They
go.
let it go. But that's pretty much it, man. So
All right, man.
for you, I mean, for people who are just tuning in for the first time, I mean, how can they find out about who it is that you are and what you do, kind of thing? Where can they
Sure.
find you?
I'm Paul. You can catch me at wrestlingcards.ca or the wrestlingcardpriceguide.com. That's the name of the site that I run. That's sort of a guide for prices. Tony, you?
WrestlingTradingCards.com.
That's
All
it.
of our social media handles can be found on the bottom of every single page of the site. So I've been doing a lot of massive updates quietly behind the back end that I haven't been talking about it all for a few weeks, but a lot of checklist pages have been redone. And thank you to Chuckster for all the hours of he put into restructuring stuff on our agreed format. And you can go and you'll see most of all those big Panini sets, top sets,
Yeah.
TriStar sets, they've all been
Truncated, yeah.
truncated down into the new format, and it just flows so much better.
He's so awesome, that guy.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah, just such an
can't say enough
invaluable
about Chuck. Well, you know,
Nope.
like he's been dealing with getting my cards up here. Immaculates one at a time, 200 select, 150 prisms, and it's all coming at him, and you know,
Yeah,
then it comes to me all nice and neat in a box and done. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
he's
I
doing
got a nice stack to send to Chuckster right here. He's working on the Chronicle set, and I got
right.
about almost 40 cards for him to help him finish complete that set.
Good, good.
So,
All right, sir.
but
So I guess we'll see you soon. You know, in between we'll see you next month for this, and I'm sure we'll be talking to one of our guests in the collector series before too long as well.
that's right, man. So don't forget, man. Just because you're down for 3, you can always come back and fight another round. All right, man.